In the early 1700s, the democratic nations of America and France were still nearly a century away, but the theories of governance, individual rights, and the concept of a social contract filled many textbooks and were the topic of many coffeehouse debates among the academic elite. However, there were isolated small islands of democracy that were already in practice and testing these theories in real life. For this moment in history, we call it the Golden Age of Piracy. Throughout the Caribbean, there were diverse societies that practiced religious tolerance and egalitarianism. They also embraced a form of democratic self-governance and made collective decisions for the welfare of their community. The people who began these progressive societies were none other than pirates, the very same bands of cutthroats and thieves who preyed upon the Atlantic trade. When one thinks of 18th century pirates, one conjures up images of drinking, cursing, debauchery, and rampant violence. Pirate attacks are often depicted as chaotic melees of drunken and insane men, hell-bent on plunder. But in reality, the successful pirates were extremely organized, meticulously prepared, and every man had a role to play. Their leaders were all democratically elected, and all were involved in the collective governance and strategic planning. Each ship had a written code of conduct. This contract was drafted and ratified by the members of the crew. It outlined explicit guidelines on key aspects of pirate life, including the equitable distribution of wealth and the resolution of conflicts. To maintain control, the pirate ships had a well-defined system of checks and balances. The captain was elected, but the crew could replace him through a simple majority vote if they were not happy with him. The quartermaster was equally as important, for he resolved disputes among the crew. He also kept the captain's authority in check. The captain was required to seek the quartermaster's approval for significant actions, so that they were aligned with the crew's best interests. The principle of equality was vital to the pirates. All members of the crew were equal, regardless of their origin, religion, or gender. The few women who joined the pirate ranks were also treated as equals. They had an equal voice in decisions, received an identical share of treasure, and their votes counted the same as the rest. The pirates also implemented an early form of healthcare. Crew members who were injured in battle, such as those who lost limbs or eyes, received financial compensation. This compensation came from a communal fund, which was set aside from the treasures they acquired. Such a system of equality and collective insurance was extraordinarily progressive and virtually unheard of in other contemporary societies. One might wonder how a diverse collection of uneducated outlaws managed to inadvertently establish a political system that mirrored the principles of modern democracy. To understand this, one must consider what drove men to become pirates in the first place. The majority of them came from naval or merchant vessels. They endured oppression at the hands of captains who wielded absolute authority, dictating every facet of life and often neglecting the welfare of the crew. These men were overworked, underpaid, and underfed. In this harsh environment, many men decided to strike out on their own, either via mutiny or deserting. Since the sea life was all many of them knew, they looked for other maritime opportunities. Compared to the oppressive command structures of legal ventures, the pirate life often became a preferable choice, since it offered not only the prospect of wealth, but also an opportunity to be part of a welcoming brotherhood. To attract and retain sailors, the pirate life needed to offer a better environment, especially since their very profession held enormous risk. So the men were given equality and fairness. They were given the choice of their leaders, and even could control them. In fact, they had a say in all important matters of their life. Compared to their previous careers, it was night versus day. This golden era of piracy lived on for over a century, but by the 1750s, many of the most notorious pirates had been caught and executed, and the increased naval presence made it more difficult for the pirates to succeed. The era drew to a close, and as the Caribbean communities collapsed, so too did their early forms of democracy. While there is no concrete evidence that the democratic ideals practiced by the pirates of this era had a direct impact on the implementation of democracy in the New World, it is noteworthy that these pirates were among the first to implement such concepts, albeit on a smaller scale. Their unique form of self-governance and egalitarian principles emerged during a time when the notion of democracy was largely theoretical. The pirates, in their own unconventional and notorious ways, demonstrated a practical application of democratic ideals. These practices were tangible expressions of democratic principles in action, ones that emerged organically from within the most unexpected of minds. Thank you for watching this moment in history. If you liked this episode, please like and subscribe.